Beyond the Hood, stories and strategies to fuel dealer growth.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Beyond the Hood with Tractor Zoom. I'm your host, Andy Campbell, and my guest today is Quentin Connealy. Quentin is a larger farmer based in the Missouri Valley Basin on the Nebraska side of the river. And our discussion today revolves around what makes a great relationship with an equipment dealer. Quentin and I talk about technology, how to build those strong relationships through communication, and also go into what does the rest of this 2024 growing season look like for him and what might result because of that in the end of the year buying season. So let's jump right into the episode and my conversation with Quentin Connealy. Welcome everyone to Beyond the Hood with Tractor Zoom. My guest today is Quentin Connealy. Did I get that right, Quentin?
You got it. Good job.
Okay. Yeah, you were telling me just go heavy on the Irish. So
yeah.
I tried to pull like the 2% Irish that I've got in my blood to at least drive that home. Okay, good. Good. Yeah, because the rest of me is not Irish at all. Okay, so Quentin, also, you go by Q on social media. You've got a great presence there, and we were talking before we recorded about the brand. But let's talk first about your farming operation. I think everybody that's entered into the farming industry's just got a unique path because none of it's the same. So do you want to talk about your path a little bit and where your operation is right now?
Okay. Yep. I'm a fifth generation farmer here in Decatur, Nebraska. So kind of I'm your typical farm kid, grew up through it and just didn't know if that's quite what I wanted to do. So I took off to college and my dad was fully behind me and went off and got my degree about 20 miles down the road here. So small college and played baseball there. It's kind of always a team baseball guy. So then I was still close enough. I just could come back and work on the farm whenever I wanted to after school or after classes and then on the weekends. So just kind of went with the full team, went baseball, and then came back and decided I wasn't cut out for the office. So came back here and Dad said there'd always be a door open for me if I were to take over the farm. So just kind of got in there, worked as a hired hand a year or two. Then that second, third year, I started farming my own acres, got started with his old landlord. And still going with him today. And we farm corn and soybeans, mostly irrigated here on the east side of Nebraska, between the Missouri River and Highway 75.
Okay, nice. And so we're going to talk a lot about your relationship with dealers and size farm. So you've got a somewhat larger farm and a close relationship with acres. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. We're with acres here. They're our closest store for acres is down in Elkhorn, Nebraska. So I think we're pushing about 35 miles, and you just kind of growing up through the farm, you just kind of see that develop. We used to have a hometown one here, and then they start getting a little further away as they start coming together. But overall, I mean, it's been a great experience. We've had they back us 100%, and then we back them. We just they come to us with quotes and ideas, and we kind of work through everything, and just we've had the same salesman, I think, ever since I've been back, probably at least 10 years. We've had the same salesman. That helps. And he farms a little bit like straight down the river, about 20 miles. So same kind of ground. And you just kind of develop those relationships and you're ready to look out for each other and kind of help each other through this process as we grow the farm.
Okay, good. And I'm glad you mentioned that on the relationships piece, because this is actually one of the main reasons why I wanted to invite you onto the Beyond the Hood podcast. It's because I want to talk about how do you build those relationships. So even like agnostic to any type of dealer, even manufacturer of tractor, I want to kind of get your take on what does it take to build those relationships. And I know you had mentioned he also farms. There's a lot of those things that are intangibles that do make a difference. And so on that, I'm actually going to jump to some of those rapid fire questions that I alluded to earlier of like what matters in this. And I've got a list. I'm just going to run down these right away, these quick hitters. So when you look at this from an equipment dealer standpoint, and again, try to take acres or any other dealer out of it, but how important and why are the following features? You ready?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. So in-depth knowledge of your particular farming operation.
Oh, are we going like 1 to 10 scales or just going to wing it? But that's pretty huge.
Yeah.
I think the more they know your program and what equipment's going to fit into your program, that it just get a jump start on everything. And they have an idea of what you're looking for, what would fit into your operation, whether it be price, horsepower, any of those things. Like the better they know, the better they can look out and find those deals because there's that huge dealer market out there. I mean, it's pretty easy to swoop up something if you know what you're looking for. And anymore, I mean, I guess about a year ago, you had to be right on it if you wanted something. I mean, it's slowed up a
Right.
little bit now today with the economy, but I mean, you wanna be prepared to pull the trigger on something if you can find it anymore.
Okay. Fantastic. What about in-depth knowledge of the equipment features?
You probably step back a little bit on that. That's not a huge deal. I mean, there's little things that may make a break, but I mean, cab comfort's not too bad, but it's not a deal breaker on most things. As long as it's got horsepower, the right horsepower, and the year, and we kind of look at the warranty. You kind of want a little bit of warranty left
Hmm.
so you can at least try out equipment. And then it's so expensive if you have a bad breakdown. So we kind of look something. We don't buy a lot of new. It's usually
Okay.
just like a 1, 2 year old pieces of equipment we'll look at really hard. I mean, if the
Hmm.
operation can do it, I mean, those new equipment was nice here when we had $7 corn, but as we back off that
Right.
now, your perspective changes a lot. But that warranty means a lot. If you can find something that at least has a little bit left, so you can get that trial through there and make sure it's good equipment, and then they know where the home is, they know where it came from anymore, they know how it was used, they can plug it in and tell you. I mean, it sat on a grain cart all day, or they pulled the heck out of it tilling heavy tillage. So I mean, all that information's in the background, and if you have the right people on the job, they can find that stuff for you.
Okay. Fantastic. Okay. What about education on new technologies that are coming out?
Yeah, that's kind of, I love the technology part of it. We're heavy precision ag here, and my
Hmm.
background, I actually came from interactive media and business going to school. So I grew up through the computers, and this precision stuff intrigues me. It just kind of took on that early adapter role and kind of rolling with it. So they're
Hmm.
ready to help us if they got something new coming out. They usually give us a call if they want us to try something. And then they have a great tech on STEM. I'll give him a shout. Levi Schlick, he's pretty awesome. I can call him up if I have a question on any technology. He just hooks me up and he walks us through it. And then we're pretty heavy on the John Deere Operations Center and finally getting the hang of that.
Hmm.
But it's evolving fast too, so you got to stay up on that and make sure you know what you're looking for. But yeah, that
It
technology piece
is.
is it's coming bigger and bigger, and we're trying to find the efficiencies out here too. So we yeah, just keep using it and just embracing it.
Okay. Fantastic. Um, what about alerts you when equipment might be available? And I think you kind of alluded to this earlier, but
Mm-hmm.
how important is that?
That's pretty big because yeah, you want to jump on something. It's not a deal breaker. I mean, sometimes it's hard to throw over that much cash. So sometimes, but anymore, it seems like with the loan programs, you can finally get a decent size of equipment for a decent price. And then I guess it comes down to a lot of honor and respect. So we don't shop around a lot on them. I mean, they know to come with their best price, and then we're not going to go out there and challenge them and look for something else and say we can get a better deal there. So you get that
Hmm.
fine line of respect in there when you work long enough together that they want to honor our program, and then we want to keep them on good graces too. So
Okay. Good. Um, what about maintenance and repair services? How high does that rank?
that's probably when you're highest. When it comes down to service, that's where that can make a break a dealership right there. So once, I mean, we got our service manager on text message and phone calls, and we can get right to them, and we can get to the technicians out there in the field. They're always, it seems like they're in that range that they're always up here somewhere, and they can get right on something, or we can call somebody up, and their dealer network's so big anymore that they can find a part somewhere within like a 2 hour radius that they can find a part, get it to you, and if they need to, they can bring a tech up here and have it worked on day of most time or day after, the morning after. So that part that can make or break a dealership right there. The service is if your service is phenomenal, you'll keep a lot of guys on your network for sure.
Okay. I'm going to elaborate or ask a follow-up question to that one because you mentioned kind of the parts radius. So, availability for parts of dry time to go get it or have it delivered. So you mentioned 2 hours. Is that kind of the limit that you want, or do you have another radius that's acceptable?
Um, uh, I think that if you can get it any time that day of, I think you're way ahead because anymore it's hard to find parts in some areas and
Hmm.
some dealerships. So, and then even the John Deere network in total, I mean, the dealerships can talk to each other. So, I mean, Acres is right here, but we can run over to AgriVision across the river, and they also support us a little bit on parts for sure. So, just the whole John Deere network has came together as one, and I think that really helps each dealership. And then it just comes back to service: who can get it to you and who can get it on there faster, for sure.
Okay. Good deal. Uh, what about precision training and advice? Because like you mentioned, you're big into precision. And what about their repository of education, or is that where you go to learn more about precision?
Yeah, it's a big part. And anymore, I think they do classes. Our dealership does classes. Acres does. So they'll walk you through the John Deere Operations Center because it's evolving so much that like
Hmm.
before the season, each spring season, they'll start and have a meeting. They'll get like 20, 30 farmers together. So not like a huge class, and it's a lot of one-on-one because they have a lot of technicians that are in the room working with you. They got one or two guys heading it up, but then they got people walking the room, and you bring in your computer or iPad, and they can walk you through these things, field boundaries, setting up your planner, and the rest of the all the fun stuff on the operations center. So if they start doing that, that just helps the grower out to start with, and then
Hmm.
probably save them some phone calls as the season. Because I mean, you can't. There's always going to be a little something because you just never can find the right button because we only do it once or twice a
Right.
year. So there's always
Yep.
that learning curve at the start. But if you do a class ahead of it, it seems like that really helps the crew.
Huh. That's a good point, and probably something that I should have taken to heart about a year ago because we were down for a day and a half trying to get connected when we should have been rolling this spring.
Ooh, yep. It's
Yeah.
things like that that kind of pop those new ideas back in your head to make sure you got all the box checked in before you get out, or checked before you get out to the field. So just the
Hmm.
little tiny details.
Okay. So now I've got another one on financing because right now we're sitting at, I don't know what the current Fed rate is, but we're late August here, and you know it's not as cheap as what it was, obviously. So how helpful is having competitive financing options, or is it just a nice to have?
It's pretty much just nice to have. I think the John Deere kind of keeps everybody in the same loop, and then you got your local bank. I'm a big local guy, so I work with my local bank, so we kind of know what our if we can get an interest rate at the bank, and then versus what JD Finance is. JD Finance is pretty generous in the interest rate game, I think. So just it's nice to have it there so we can use it, and we know where everybody should be, and kind of keeps everybody honest in the loop there.
Okay. And then one last one for you here, uh, agronomy advice. So outside of the iron, but I know a lot of dealerships will delve into that. So how important is that piece, or do you even use it?
I'd probably take that back, but I take that back on the checklist of boxes to check. But I got kind of my own agronomy team on the side, and I kind of keep that separate. I kind of got a whole farm team, marketing, agronomists, and I keep my dealer over there on the side looking for the right pieces of equipment. So I don't think that's super important, but they do need to know like what type of soils you have, what tillage might work, and then anymore with this all this no-till stuff, cover crops coming out, what your planter needs to be set up with. So there is that little fine details where they can make or break a deal maybe if they can get all the right accessories on your planter, all the liquid fertilizer, anything you want. It's nice to have that little bit of background, and that's where I'm kind of fortunate where our guy kind of knows from being just down the river that this kind of stuff works in this soil. So it's not huge on the checklist, but it's definitely a bonus point if they can get that detailed. But I don't think it's expected out of a lot of salesmen
Okay.
that I
So,
speak with. But
okay. I got one more for you. And it's broad, but you had kind of talked about the different relationships you have and the communication that they have with you and you have with them. So I'm assuming communication is important, but what type of communication, what do you expect from like a top-notch dealer relationship?
um, oh man, that's a tough one. Um, I guess I don't know how to pinpoint that one, but I'm not a huge phone talker, so I guess we
Hmm.
just go back to the texting. If they text you and give you a heads up that I'll be in the area this time and we should hook up and like look at some of this stuff, look at some numbers on a tractor, look at some tillage equipment, and then they're kind of and they know what's on the lot. I guess. I mean, I don't know. You can only field so many field phone calls from salesmen, so I don't think it's a
Right.
huge deal. But they just kind of if you shoot a text message to a guy, I know they can kind of get overlooked for a while, but at least you got that bug in their ear. If the idea does pop in their head, that they'll hit you back and when they're ready to go with something. So I don't think you have to be too aggressive on that communication part, but I know some guys love the phone calls, and it's not bad getting a
Hmm.
phone call from a salesman just to catch up and see how everything's going out here. So definitely just
Hmm.
yeah, stay in touch. So
Good. Yeah, I could echo that. I do like the catching up on the phone calls every once in a while. I love text just for the quick answers, but
right,
I think I'm 30 deep in my voicemails right now, and so
yeah,
don't leave me a
yeah,
voicemail. I don't even want
right.
to go in there.
Yeah, I'm terrible at voicemail. I kind of changed my voicemail just to text me, and I'll get back to you. I was like, there's actually a
Yep.
thing off TikTok as a video. I was like, as a recorded audio, it says this guy's super busy. Just shoot him a text, and he'll call you back or text you back or something. But I was like,
That's
it's too funny not to try, but so I figured I'd try it on there for a while, but it hasn't totally humiliated me yet. But there's like some important people I call once in a while. I'm like, oh, sorry you had to hear that, but I'll
Yep.
get back to you. Hopefully they got a
Yeah. Good.
laugh out of it.
Well, they also have to know that you're important too. So
Yeah,
puts them in
yeah.
their place.
We like to think so, but
Yep.
we're kind of minnows in the ocean, but it's fun. So you have fun with people and just like, yeah, we're laughing about this and I've never met you. So it's just a fun little relationship you start to develop as you open your doors to your farm and start meeting
Yep.
new people and joining in that team together. So
Good. Good. Okay. So we had talked a little bit about technologies and your precision, but there's, precision can be an umbrella, or it can kind of be some certain points of practices that you do. And there's obviously more technologies than just precision. So if you had to label top two or three technologies that have made just a big difference to you and your farm, could you name them?
um, trying to pinpoint one, but I don't know, just anymore are I'm not a well. Once we're kind of getting away from a little bit of tillage and like tilling outside boundaries, but boundaries are nice as all these um, like our retailers and everybody start talking to each other about our field boundaries. They can upload maps in there, and then
Yep.
I use Precision Tech to do all my acreage certification. So getting all those field boundaries is really nice. And once you get all that, and then we're tried AutoPath this year, and I haven't tried it on the combine yet, so I can't get fully on board on there. But I've heard great things on AutoPath.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, mainly just precision planning, and then man, that's it. That's probably about it. Can't think any off the top of my head. We might have to circle back to that one.
Yeah, that's okay. AutoPath is pretty amazing.
That's
So
what I hear. That's
it's
what I hear. Good things. So we ran it on the planner. I just haven't had to enjoy the stuff in the combine yet. But
good stuff for you to look forward to. Hey, everybody, a quick break from the show, and then we're going to get you right back to the conversation. But I wanted to take a moment to let you know how TractorZoom is partnering with all of our dealership partners to fuel their dealership growth. We're doing that with TractorZoom Pro to give people better valuations, faster access to it, and the ability to manage their inventory using AI, using large data. Even if their dealership doesn't have the capacity to develop the AI and the large data themselves, it's all there within TractorZoom Pro. And also with Anvil Pro, integrated business systems solution. You can actually cut costs by integrating solutions, not paying for all these extra one-offs, and keep people in the same solution so you're not constantly switching screens. And then you could optimize your workflows, do a lot of things with automation that technology should be able to do right now. So just two ways that TractorZoom is working with our dealer partners to really help them fuel their dealership growth. Okay, you can check out some links in the show notes. You can also go to tractorzoompro.com to check all that stuff out. But we'd love to at least show you all the different ways that we're helping our dealership partners. Okay, let's get back to the show. Hope you're enjoying it. Okay, so we've hit on some of this with relationship building, but yeah, I want to ask you a little bit more about, what makes a great relationship with a dealer. And so I'll reiterate some of the stuff I've heard from you already. I mean, the good communication, they know you, you've got, communication back and forth. And also you said your salesperson has longevity and that they also farm. So there's a little bit of relatability there with it. Is there anything else or any of those things that I mentioned that, again, are a nice to have, but not a necessary to have?
tell you what's really nice. My dad kind of grew up with a supervisor. He's a supervisor salesman now. He's moved up through acres and he kind of just supervises the store. So, but he was with us
Mm-hmm.
before our salesman now. But now our salesman just knows us so well now that we're almost like family friends. So we're very fortunate there. And then like, shoot, some days, I mean, even if I have a commitment, they'll come out and run the combine for me for like a day, or they'll just come out and ride. So just little
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And I mean, you only use it like maybe once every 3 years, but if they'll come out and run the
Yep.
combine for you a day, if you got a wedding or funeral or something. So just little details
Mm-hmm.
like that. If you want to go above and beyond, that's a good way to, or just come help somebody farm that night, move people around, or run
Yep.
a grain cart for a little while. Just little things like that. If you guys have the time, and then it gets that salesman in the door. They kind of see how the operation works and can go with it from there. So just little
Right.
things like that. So yep.
Huh. Yeah, there's nothing better than boots on the ground, and that is literal boots on the ground if they're actually running your combine for you.
Right. And then now, I mean, they could probably pull up the op center and kind of watch how you move, but it's pretty cool
Mm-hmm.
when they come out and just kind of, even if they just bring you lunch or something, just kind of that little thing they'll remember you forever if you do stuff like
Right.
that. So, yep.
That's great advice. And I know that on our farm, our seed salesman, the younger guy, very much fits that bill. And
Yep.
so
Yep.
even
Yep.
though he's a totally different generation than my dad, it has just solidified a great relationship. So,
Exactly. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Pretty solid. Yeah. Can't beat that.
Huh. Good. Well, the next question I was actually going to ask you that I have listed down, and this is verbatim. Can you share an example of exceptional customer service that you received from a dealer? But I
Oh,
think running the combine has got to be one of the top, right?
yeah. That's really up there for sure. And yeah, he loved it. And I actually trained my dad that day. He was actually going to run it for me, but then the salesman came out and ran it because it took a worry off my dad because I
Hmm.
think it was like an old 670s, but he hadn't ran anything for a while. So I was like, he knew how to do it, and I think he could have handled it that day. But it was a nice deal that he came up. But actually, tell
Hmm.
you a deal like on the parts deal, I actually had an
Hmm.
incident with a gator like a month
Okay.
ago, and broke out a windshield. I called. I was like, I need a windshield, and I had to run, and I think I spent an extra half hour up there finishing my task, and left the gator up there because I wasn't going to bring it back when we needed it up north to clean up flood stuff. And by the time I got back to the shop in like an hour, I had a windshield in the shop,
Whoa.
and they're like 35 minutes away. So just little things like that, and I was like, didn't say I needed it tonight, but I guess it's here,
Hmm.
and it was on the next day. So yeah.
Uh,
But yeah,
that's
just
good.
some little things, and you'll remember that because I mean, with this whole dealer network, they got vans running around from dealership to dealership and all over eastern, central, western Nebraska. So I mean, they got the stuff and they got the guys to do it anymore. And then yeah, I didn't have to run an hour out of my way; it was already there when I
Hmm.
got back. So just little things like that that show that they go above and beyond to make sure stuff's getting done.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know back in a past life, I used to teach marketing, and reliability and responsiveness are two of the highest, qualities of a high customer service.
Hmm.
And so that right there, I mean, getting something before you anticipated it is great. Now it's easier said than done because as you get to be a bigger dealer or any bigger organization, you get tons of requests coming in all the time. And if you don't have a
Right,
system set up behind the scenes, all those
right,
things fall through the cracks.
right.
Which, it's not necessarily what you see, but, having that setup that they've done, that groundwork that they've laid, makes that
Yep.
stuff possible.
Yep, yep, and especially for a fairly new dealership, all of them they brought together. I mean, it's taken a couple of
Hmm.
years to get that far, but even the last year when they got that van and stuff moving stuff around full time, it really shows. It's showing now. It wasn't like that probably 3 years ago. I can't remember
Hmm.
how long ago the consolidation was, but I think it was
Yeah,
right during COVID because I remember sneaking
it
in the back
was.
door to get parts with my little
Hmm.
guy, and they gave him one of the first hats off the assembly line. So I was like, oh,
Hmm.
all right. So I think it was probably about 2020, and we're like 4 years into it now, and it's really come together. And they've kind of had me to some of their meetings to see how this dealership network needs to talk to each other, and kind of like the Amazon feel. You can get it from this
Right.
hub or one hub. So it's kind of cool to see come together when I've actually been there and been a part of it. To when it was in the early talks and see it coming to your front door is pretty sweet.
Huh. Yeah, and that's neat that you mentioned that they brought you in after the fact as a bit of a feedback loop to say, okay, how is this
Yep.
actually going?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And that was on the man. That's probably 3 years ago when they're first talking about it. I don't know. I don't think it was classified, but yeah, we kind of
Hmm.
few of us came in and just said, yeah, this would work, and no, I don't think the farmer's going to use that. So, but this is I think
Hmm.
one of their ideas, and to see it come full force is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's something that, like, when you're really small, maybe a one-store dealer or even a small business, it kind of happens naturally because you're always talking to your customers, and then you just get that
Right.
feedback loop to the top. But once you grow, and we started doing this even here at Tractor Zoom, setting up an innovation council of
Yep.
dealers that we get that intentionally back, and that's kind of sounds like what they did with you is let's be
Yep.
intentional about this feedback loop. But you
Exactly.
have to be intentional about it because otherwise it just might not happen or it's happenstance.
Right. Right. Yep. Or otherwise, by the time you think of it, it's already gone, and somebody else is doing it, and maybe stealing customers. So yeah, if you're
Hmm.
proactive and get after stuff, it shows. Might take a couple of years, but it shows.
Yeah, good. Any kind of acquisition and all that does definitely take a couple of years. There's a lot to
Hmm.
merge, but I'm glad
Yep.
that's going well. Okay, so pricing and financing now. So these last couple of years have been anything but static in terms of
Hmm.
equipment pricing. And now, again, we're sitting in August of 2024. We're starting to see auction prices drop a little bit. Interest rates still high at this point. There's inklings that the Fed might drop rates here a little bit in September.
Hmm.
But you had mentioned that finance rates are nice, but not imperative. I'm going to start this with, you're purchasing decisions now, and I'm not holding you to actually making a new row crop tractor
Okay, good.
purchase coming up this fall.
Right.
But what difference does maybe a 1%, so 100 basis points drop in the interest rate? Does that really incentivize you much? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I think so. Overall, you got to kind of look at it on that. I mean, we probably buy a lot on the 5-year plan. So, I mean,
Okay.
overall, as long as the payments, when they can break it down, we usually like the 2 semi-annual payments a year, kind of cuts back a little bit of that interest. That's kind of one of the
Mm-hmm.
things my dad taught me. So, yeah, we just we watch it. Nowhere else to go with that, but it's on there. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, money's so tight right now on the farm. I mean, we got our
Yep.
cash flows. I mean, it's just gonna barely cash flow, but it's hard to jump out there and put another 100, 200,000, $500,000 on your cash flow. It's tough. So the easier,
Mm-hmm.
lower financing, the more payments you can kind of break it out semi-annual, maybe save one for harvest when you got some money actually coming through. So just
Mm-hmm.
ideas like that keep everything moving because we're kind of on the program update when you can, like on the good years, and then we run it through these bad years that we're rolling into. So now we're kind of set up for longevity to roll through these tighter times.
Okay, good. And I want to hit on these tighter times. Tighter times is a good way to put it. Bear market's a good way to put it. I've been trying to figure out how do I like Pollyanna, sugarcoat what we're going
Yeah,
into here.
I don't think there's
No,
much.
there's not much, but I do
No,
want to keep that at least to the end because
right.
I don't want to be a Debbie Downer right now.
Exactly.
But knowing that that's coming up in here in a little bit, I want to talk one more thing on the feedback piece because I think that was neat what the dealership did about bringing you in. If you have any other kind of feedback for them, say whether it's positive, negative, or whatever, is there kind of a feedback loop? How do they get back to you? Is it just in the salesperson? And when would you expect to hear any feedback, or do you even care?
Um, I don't know. I'm kind of in a unique situation where I work really closely with them, so I kind of know their marketing team, and they're very heavily marketed in Nebraska. They're great at it. The
Hmm.
University of Nebraska. I mean, they're all over there, so
Right.
you see them at all the different games.
Hmm.
You got the headphones. Yeah,
Yep. Uh-huh.
Coach Rule's headphones and everybody's headphones. But yeah, they're so. I think the more you understand why they're doing that, I think it helps because you kind of see them like spending extra money on like an NIL player that didn't work out last year. I don't want to name any names, but I mean, Husker fans die hard for their football, and to see something
They do.
crash like that. But that's probably my only skeptical part. And I give them crap like that all the time anyway, so they've heard it straight from me. But
Uh,
just little things like that. Your marketing's got to be solid, and you know that probably being a marketing guy that you got to put your money in the right places to show your brand and show all the city folk and the rural folk that you're putting money in the right place and doing it for the right reasons. But
Oh, good. Yeah, good. That's great feedback. Not something that I intended. And I'm gonna probably have to send you some Hawkeye gear. So,
oh gosh, please don't. I already had enough Hawkeye conversations today with my crop adjuster. He was a Hawkeye
good for
fan too.
him.
I'm getting cornered this morning, but Huskers going to win it all this year before the season starts. Yep, same
Yep,
mentality.
exactly.
Same mentality as
Yep,
every year.
every year.
Yeah,
Got to
right.
come positive.
Yeah, yeah. We got to throw that out here before the season starts.
Yep. Okay. So I want to talk about long-term partnerships now because you definitely have that. I mean, they built that
Yep.
up with you, and we've kind of alluded to that in a lot of different ways. So if you were going to give advice to a different dealership on, if they had to do 2, 3, 4 things to really set up long-term partnerships with their farmers, what would you suggest that they focus on?
Um, yeah, the first two that jump out at me, kind of honor and respect. Like give the farmer the respect that they deserve, like that right price, kind of coming out of the gate. And
Hmm.
because I don't know, it seems like haggling's kind of went away. You can't just really haggle on a price that much anymore. So the more the
Hmm.
farmer's going to respect you, the truer your numbers are. If you come with that first number, I think that helps a lot. And I know then you kind of come down, oh, we can't wiggle that much, but still takes some of the barter out. But coming out with your honest
Hmm.
numbers and then just knowing the operation in and out, what fits. If you're gonna efficiently use this tractor, it's gonna save you this much more time having maybe that extra horsepower or the guidance if you're kind of selling technology, and then the mapping. I think as we get these maps dialed in and find the acre efficiencies, so even planting till harvest and spraying. I mean, you find all those efficiencies. This technology is going to bring that efficiency to your farm. Be another big one. Efficiency is going to be huge coming up here as things tighten up again, as we say.
Hmm.
But man, I don't know if I got all two or three. Maybe
Yeah.
three or four in there, but respect,
Yeah.
honor, efficiencies.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think that's it for me. Those are kind of my
Okay.
top three tiers.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good. That's good. Uh, okay. Now I want to talk about a little bit about community involvement because I mean you just talked a lot about the marketing aspect of it, getting the brand out there. What do they stand for? Um, as Acres has grown, they've got a decent sized chunk of Nebraska, and some people can easily say they're almost so big you don't care about the little people,
Hmm.
and it gets harder as you get bigger to be intentional like that.
Right.
But what's your take on, what role do they have in the small local communities? And does that make a difference to you? Or is it, the branding on the headphones, is it the beer labeling that makes the
Hmm.
difference?
I see you're going to catch a lot more eyes at that top at the football games and all the Husker gear, but it's still, I
Hmm.
think it comes down to each store to do that local aspect. Even if you are 30, 40 miles away, if you spread out your store enough and you have like our salesmen and even some of the service techs and other parts of the team, they'll be at functions in town, or you can call them up and get that donation for Pheasants Forever. That's kind of where I started.
Hmm.
Chamber of Commerce, I was in that, and now like Nebraska Corn Growers, I'm just getting in there as a local representative, and my guy was happy to jump on my board. We're still falling with that with that role. We haven't fully
Hmm.
integrated it yet, but the willingness for that local hub, I think, to come out into the community and be present is a huge aspect. So, I mean, you're going to have your big corporate stores, and they're going to maybe stay in the bigger towns, Omaha, Lincoln, and Nebraska here, Husker games. But each
Yep.
store, if they go outside and kind of stay in that radius and show up in town a little bit or donate to something in town, I think it gets down to that local level, and people see that, and that's what they like to see, and that's where you kind of see your core farmers, ranchers, feedlot guys. A lot of those guys are there watching people donate stuff, and then you're present. So that's all it comes down to.
Huh. Good. So then let's take this back a couple questions. I asked you about, if they wanted to build long-term partnerships, what's your advice for them? For larger farming operations, is there anything in particular that your dealership has done or that you'd suggest other dealers do to really help serve a big organization like yours?
Um, I think the more they get them integrated and use the operations center will be huge because I think these big farms benefit a lot more than that because
Hmm.
I lost my dad 2 years ago, so now I kind of lost my boots on the ground, the guy traveling around watching guys, and I've really
Hmm.
embraced that. I have that in my phone. I can watch each tractor, where it's at, what it's doing, which direction it's going, how fast it's going, how deep. So I think if you start showing those bigger operations, those little things you can pick up and not drive 30 miles to go check on somebody, it's one of those kind of peace of minds deals. I mean, you might have to run up there once in a while on big issues, but if you can save a lot of time just keeping, and I like to still operate myself, so I'd love to be in
Hmm.
my planner, combine, and still doing my thing, and trust that my guys are doing the right thing somewhere else. So, and it just helps. And I mean, we get a few older guys that come back and want to run some of this stuff. So the more I can tap into my screen and see that tractor for them and walk them through steps, just it's huge. Where I don't have to run out there, even if I'm home for the night and they might be running a couple hours to finish up a field. I can see from my house that they're doing the right thing and walk them through something and see exactly what they're doing. And yeah, it's just peace of mind. As you get some of these bigger operations, you got guys all over the place where they start showing us that. I think it's nice.
Oh, good, good. And I mean, even to paraphrase that, because my marketing mind is taking what you said and kind of piecing this together. But obviously that you're asking for the operation center, the training on the technical. But what it's really giving you is that time, which is kind of a
Yep.
next level up type of thing, and you can't make more time. So that's
Exactly.
crucial. But then even the step above that, you mentioned the peace of mind, and so I think that's kind of if any dealer marketers are listening out there, there's your brand ladder right there
Hmm.
of what the operation center does give you is that time and then eventually that peace of mind. But you're right that
Hmm.
you can't be everywhere all at once. And with labor markets getting tighter and tighter in rural America right now, you need to have a little bit of the oversight, but a little bit of that trust and that guidance. But you need technology in order to
Hmm.
help you scale and grow because
Yep.
there's not enough bodies to do it all.
Right. Exactly. Even coming down to like instances where a guy, if he has to run down the road or something, he might leave a tractor idling for 30 minutes. So you can set notifications on there because horsepower is expensive now. If you just leave a tractor idling
Right.
for half an hour, I mean, you might be spending a couple $100 on efficiencies and productivity, and then the price later on. So just little things like that you can pick up once you've used it long enough to set the
Mm-hmm.
notifications and make sure. I mean, they just might not know yet or think about it. So just getting them, being able to watch that equipment and make sure it's getting shut off and not just sitting there is a huge little thing to fine tune some of your programs on the farm out here.
Huh. Well, yeah, I was just actually breaking down our Tractor Zoom Pro and figuring out depreciation rates, kind of newer depreciation rates. And you're right, but I had no idea that my operations center could actually do that. So I need to go
You can
and
set
get some of
timers in
this
there
training.
to tell you if a
Oh man.
tractor's sat idle for like 10, 20 minutes. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, my
Pretty
dad is
neat.
going to get ticked at me now that
Oh
I'm
boy.
like, do you know how much money you're wasting right now?
Right.
And he's like,
Exactly.
get out of my
Yep.
phone.
And it came down to like it really popped in my head when we finally made that jump to a 500 horsepower tractor, and that was expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And they let us, we had to
Yep.
try it out for like 100 hours. We had to use it, and then we
Mm-hmm.
could either lease it or give it back, or we could buy it with that rate taken out. And once you
Mm-hmm.
do the math on that, I mean, you're 250 hours on a track, or $250 an hour on a tractor that
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to sit in there idling. So that's when I really clicked, and I was like, we got to start watching some of this stuff. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just ideas for guys. Yep.
Yep. It's great. Okay, so now I want to take it to what might be a little bit of a down subject on what's happening with the farm economy right now and kind of what what does the end of year 24 look like? And then what's your ideas going into 25? How have you, I'm asking a massive question right now, so I'll break this down for you, but what is your behavior going to be like? How are you going to change some of those behaviors going into 25 and beyond if this keeps up? So I'll phrase the first one. How do your crops look right now?
Actually, yeah, looking out the window here, we're pretty primarily irrigated here. So,
Mm-hmm.
irrigation looks really good, but our rain shut off July 4th. So dry land's starting to fire a little bit, get a little hotter, but I think it'll fill out all right. We're going to lose some test weight, but, overall we look pretty solid, but we were hit pretty hard with that flood. We lost about a fifth of our acres in the flood, the Missouri River
Oh,
here, the end of June. So,
okay.
but we do have crop insurance on that. So we're not total loss, but overall, I mean, I took the banker out yesterday. He likes to do bank visits. Still got the local banker. We'd drive around and look at the crops and talk about what costs are left for this year and what the crop's looking like. And then I have my marketing guy. He's actually over from Iowa. Then I got my
Mm.
finance team, and we're just he's getting me those numbers right now. I don't have them fall right in front of me, but it's going to be tight. So we're just watching. And then on my agronomist side, we've clicked in. We're trying to get our fertilizer rates tighter and get the right applications in there. So just little we might not be able to spend all that money on fertilizer next year. You might just have to cut back
Right.
and use it more efficiently. And then we're finding those acres where you can put the right amount of fertilizer and then you can cut back on stuff that's might be nutrient deficient or something. So just
Mm-hmm.
finding we use a lot of variable rate planting, so we're saving on seed. Use good rates on the good acres, bring down the
Yep.
populations on bad acres. So we're fine tuning precision planting, and then fertilizer recommendations. We do a lot of variable rate fertilizer anymore, just to kind of
Oh.
pinpoint those acres and get them right and efficient.
Mm-hmm. I was actually just talking to an ag economist earlier this morning that he suspects, obviously, a lot of people are going to be cutting back, and he's like, fertilizer could
Hmm.
be a major one where
It
they
is.
just, I mean, some might even have enough banked up in the soil where they shut it off
That's
this year and they
that's
wait.
what. Yep. I'm hearing the exact same thing. So just talking to my little farmer groups, yeah, we are talking about some guys are cutting out all the fertilizer, but I mean that's one thing my banker always said. You producers produce, so you hate to cut
Mm-hmm.
back on. The only thing we could do to combat lower prices is produce more, but then we're still oversupplying. So it's kind of a
Right.
fine line in there, and that's where this agronomy stuff we're starting to fine tune it so we can kind of use it more efficiently, I guess. So hopefully not cutting it all out, but just use it more
Mm-hmm.
efficiently.
Okay. Good. And then, so I'm going to kind of ask you to crystal ball this thing. So, we could be looking at definitely sub $4 corn. That's not out of the realm. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't know what the basis is like in your area, but we could be looking at delivering corn in the fall, maybe at $3 in some areas that have rough basis. Uh,
Hmm.
what does your fall look like? And then does that change any of your end of year equipment buying plans?
Yeah, definitely change the plans. We won't be buying any equipment right now until we figure out what kind of the economy is going to do. But that's why we kind of set ourselves up 2 or 3 years ago, got the right
Hmm.
equipment in place so we can run it through this time. So that kind of helps to stay ahead of that curve. But then on the auction side, I mean, you're probably going to be finding some deals out there. So keep an eye on
Right.
it. If that equipment fits in there and you can get rid of something else and maybe swap stuff. I don't know if you can just like fully just go out and buy an extra piece into your operation, but swap it out, get
Hmm.
rid of something. I'm kind of proud to say I'm like a first year cover cropper. So then it
Okay.
gets my mind clicking that, oh, wow, we can sell that piece of tillage equipment and they're expensive anymore. So the stuff like that. I mean, we're gonna have to watch this carbon market. That's probably the scariest thing because nobody knows what's going on. But
Right.
there might be some premium to had here later on. So if you start getting your mind ready for it, and some areas work better. I mean, we're not a big cover crop area, so it's different for us. But we're some areas, I mean, guys have been doing it 5, 10, 15 years. So it's just, I don't know, just keep an eye on it. And the best you can do is kind of prepare yourself and
Okay.
just be ready not to spend that money or spend it wisely. So if it makes your farm more efficient, that's what I always come back to, it seems.
Good. And I think that's probably a good way to wrap it up too, because I know we started with the conversation you were having about the relationship with your dealers and how if they can help you make you more efficient, then that builds a stronger relationship. And that's probably, one of the biggest values that they can bring going forward into the next year, 2 years, because efficiency is going to be key. If you can't control that top line of whatever corn or beans are bringing, then
Right.
you have to control that bottom line.
Exactly. Yep. Know where to spend the money and be careful with it because, it's going to be tight and cash flows are going to be coming down a little bit. So just be ready for it.
Good. Cute. Well, hey, I appreciate your time. I don't know. Do you have anything else to add? Because this has been fantastic.
Coming down to the more you work with your dealership, the more they trust you. And that's, I do have a decent following on social media. So we just kind of get those ideas going. You can learn how to help each other, help their brand, and then they help your farm. So there's little ideas out there. You can just bring them onto your farm and then they know about you, know more about you, and you can advertise for them a little bit. And that's what kind of where the combine came from a couple of years ago. It was a 75th anniversary, 75-year anniversary combine, 780. And it was actually, we didn't know, but like a month after we got it, my dad passed away. So it was the last combine he bought. And then now we got this memorable picture of all us together with the American flag and the eagle on there. And that was all thanks to my dealership. We kind of just came with that idea together and made it come together and put this sweet wrap on a combine.
And that's a great story. But again, it epitomizes the whole close relationship piece. Yeah, I know. That's
This is
my
the stuff
hardest
we
thing
talk
with
about
these
every day out here.
conversations. Right. Yeah. So, anyways, hey, I really appreciate you joining us. This has been good. And if you are ever in Des Moines, shoot me a text. I know you've got Ryan's number as well. Just, let us know, and we'd love to show you around and have you meet some of the other crew. I mean, you've met Ryan, but have you met anybody else here?
I don't think so. No,
Okay.
just Ryan. Me and Ryan got pretty tight through the years, so kind of hang out. And then we got our love for our old tractors and horsepower, so we kind of share that and keeps us going and keep ideas flowing that way. So I know you guys helped us. You guys helped us find a 5020 2 years ago. So even through
That's
your
right.
Tractor Zoom stuff, so it's pretty cool how it all comes full circle if you got the right people in place.
Thank you for joining us in this episode of Beyond the Hood with Tractor Zoom. If you haven't liked, subscribed, or followed our podcast, you can do that on YouTube, Spotify, Apple iTunes, all the good stuff, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed the conversation that we had with Q today and building stronger relationships between farmers and dealers, make sure you go to TractorZoomPro.com and you can see how TractorZoom is helping dealers form stronger relationships with their farmers through the use of integrated, intelligent business systems. So, this is Andy Campbell with Beyond the Tractor Zoom. Until next time, take care.